has all that is here to this great city of Baltimore.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Baltimore, Maryland, let's get ready to rumble!
Oh, we are!
If there's anybody that's a big star in Baltimore, it's you. In Baltimore, whether you like it or not, you better learn to live with it, because I'm the best there is.
This tonight is Championship Wrestling returns to Baltimore at the Baltimore Civic Center tonight.
And I have picked Baltimore out to be the place where this war is going to come to an end, because they got a lot of nice, fine hospitals there.
You know it, I know it, and Baltimore is...
It's the night of champions in Baltimore, Maryland at the Civic Center.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to RassleRama Radio, where today we're going to be taking a hop in the time machine once again, going back to the 1980s, the month of May in the 1980s. We're going to be taking a look at professional wrestling in Maryland for the month of May throughout the decade of the 80s. We've got all the cards, the results, we have some attendance figures, so much more. But before we take into this deep dive into the 80s, I want to encourage everybody to check us out online, RassleRama.com. You can find all of our old podcasts there, all of our old reports, show results. You find all of our social media links. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Everything is at RassleRama. That's RassleRama. And again, our webpage is RassleRama.com. Let's go ahead and jump right into the show. We're going to go back to the month of May in the decade of the 80s, professional wrestling in the state of Maryland. There's been a lot of Twitter discord recently about before Hogan and Vince really did their expansion. Wrestling was just for hillbillies and smoky gyms, smoky bingo halls. And while I'm sure that did happen, I've been to some Smoky Mountain shows in the 90s that were in high school gyms. I've been to ECW shows in the 90s in some high school gyms. I've been to WCW shows in high school gyms in the 90s. But our deep dives here is not only to have fun, go back and look at the results and talk about wrestling the way it used to be, but also to show that, hey, it was super popular even before the WWF expansion in 84. There were buildings drawing 10, 12, 15, 20,000 people every month to see wrestling. And Maryland had some of those buildings. The Civic Center would draw big houses. The Capitol Center would draw big houses. And then, of course, you've got, Mid-South. They were drawn in the Superdome. World Class was drawn down in Dallas. So I hope some of these attendance figures for wrestling before the big expansion kind of helped some people in the debate about how wrestling was before Hogan and Vince took over. I loved wrestling before, and I love wrestling after, and I still love wrestling today. That's why we talk about it every month. So let's jump right into it. First show we're going to talk about took place on May 3rd, 1980 at the Baltimore Civic Center. This show drew 10,900 fans. The Johnny Rodz versus Paul Figueroa match did not take place as advertised. There we go, Johnny Rodz being unpredictable once again. Frank Savage, who was a substitute for Bulldog Brower, pinned Mike Masters at 13 minutes and 8 seconds. I don't know that WrestleMania may have had, Punk's match, maybe Cody's match, maybe both days of WrestleMania. Did they have 3 matches that went over 12, 13 minutes? And here we are at the Civic Center. Opening match was 13 minutes. Davey O'Hannon pinned Steve King, 10 minutes, 18 seconds. Bobby Duncombe pinned Johnny Rodz, who was a substitute for El Olympico, at 3 minutes, 22 seconds. Larry Sharp pinned Angelo Gomez, 9 minutes, 27 seconds. WWF Tag Team Champion Alpha pinned Dominic DeNucci, 4 minutes and 9 seconds. Gorilla Monsoon, one of the all-time greatest names in professional wrestling. Gorilla Monsoon Gorilla pinned Baron Miguel Cicluna, 5 minutes, 44 seconds. Larry Zbyszko defeated Ivan Putski via countout at 16 minutes, 45 seconds. And WWF World Champion Bob Backlund defeated WWF Intercontinental Champion Ken Patera at 22 minutes and 40 seconds via referee stoppage when the challenger was deemed too bloody to continue. Maryland had some blood back in the day. Real quick, before we get to our next show, I want to encourage everybody, this May 3rd, 1980 show that we just talked about, we've got some cool promos on our YouTube page leading up to this event. So if you go to YouTube, RassleRama, and look up the May 3rd, 1980 promos, we got about 10 minutes of promos off the old TV back in the day. So check it out, enjoy, let me know what you think. Then later that month, May 31, 1980, WWF went down the road to Landover, Maryland at the Capitol Center. Rick McGraw defeated Moose Monroe, who was a substitute for Davey O'Hannon, in 10 minutes, 18 seconds. Baron Miguel Cicluna defeated Johnny Rodz, 13 minutes, 21 seconds. Jose Estrada defeated Steve King, who was a substitute for Larry Sharp, 15 minutes, 48 seconds. So, wow, the first three matches, what was that, 25, 38? First three matches, close to 40 minutes of wrestling in the first three matches. Tor Kamada defeated El Olympico, 2 minutes, 8 seconds. WWF Tag Team Champion Alpha defeated Rene Goulet, 6 minutes and 4 seconds. Dominic DeNucci defeated Bobby Duncombe via countout, 4 minutes and 37 seconds. WWF Tag Team Champion Sika defeated Ivan Putski by countout, 11 minutes, 50 seconds. Larry Zbyszko defeated Pat Patterson via countout, 18 minutes, 48 seconds. And Tony Atlas fought Intercontinental Champion Ken Patera to a double disqualification in 27 minutes and 52 seconds. Let's go ahead to May of 1981. We're back in Landover at the Capitol Center. May 23rd, 1981. This was a matinee show. It was an afternoon show. More than likely, they had another event somewhere else that evening. Sometimes they used to, occasionally, they would do the Landover-Baltimore doubleheader. So they would be in Landover in the day, Baltimore at night, or somewhere nearby they would do a night show. But yeah, May 23rd, 1981, Landover Capitol Center. Rick McGraw defeated Baron Miguel Cicluna, 11 minutes, 35 seconds. Larry Sharp defeated Chris Kanyon, 9 minutes, 16 seconds. Real quick, without using Google, leave me a comment if you know who Chris Kanyon wound up becoming in the world of professional wrestling. But here, May 23, 1981, Larry Sharp defeated Chris Kanyon at 9 minutes, 16 seconds. Angelo Mosca defeated Dominic DeNucci, 4 minutes and 18 seconds. Intercontinental Champion Pedro Morales defeated Bulldog Brower, 3 minutes, 41 seconds. Tony Gurria defeated Johnny Rodz at 1 minute, 53 seconds. WWF Tag Team Champions the Moondogs defeated S.D. Jones and Rick McGraw, 5 minutes and 13 seconds. The Carolina Kid and Farmer Jerome defeated Sky Low Low and Kid Chocolate in a best 2 out of 3 falls match, 8 minutes and 59 seconds. And in case you weren't aware, these were little people. They called them midget matches back in the day. I know now that word is looked upon differently. But yeah, they did a little person match, best 2 out of 3 falls. I'm sure that was a barn burner. The next match saw world champion Bob Backlund defeat Killer Khan by submission with the figure 4 leg lock in a no-holds-barred match, 18 minutes and 40 seconds. Gorilla Monsoon was the guest referee for the bout. We then saw Angelo Mosca, King Kong Mosca. He won a 16-man, $10,000 battle royal in 14 minutes and 17 seconds by last eliminating Moondog Rex. Other participants included the Moondogs, Pedro Morales, Dominic DeNucci, the Hangman, Rick McGraw, Bulldog Brower, S.D. Jones, Larry Sharp, Yoshiaki Yatsu, Johnny Rodz, and Frank Savage. More people in the. Baron Mikel Cicluna, Tony Garea, and Rick Martel was also in the Battle Royal. Sergeant Slaughter was scheduled for the Battle Royal, but did not appear. Let's jump to May of 1982 in Landover once again at the Capitol Center. May 1st, 1982, they drew 10,611 fans to the Cap Center. Opening match saw Charlie Fulton pin Baron Mikel Cicluna, 7 minutes 35 seconds. Lawrence Soucy, who was a substitute for Jose Estrada, he pinned Jeff Craney at 10 minutes and 13 seconds. Blackjack Mulligan defeated Tony Garea, 10 minutes 19 seconds. Adrian Adonis pinned Johnny Rodz, 6 minutes and 2 seconds. Rick McGraw and Steve Travis defeated WWF Tag Team Champions Mr. Fuji and Mr. Saito in a best 2 out of 3 falls match, but of course they did not win the titles. And I'll tell you, back in the day, Rick McGraw and Steve Travis, for this time frame, they had a really good underneath tag team on TV. They would give them wins. They would have them look competitive against the top guys. But they would lose. They would never quite win the titles. But they were kind of like, if you remember back in the day, I talked about these guys before, Kurt Hennig and Eddie Gilbert, and guys like S.D. Jones, where they were the enhancement guys, the jobbers. But they made them look good. They would give them occasional wins against other enhancement guys. They would get good matches out of the top guys. But in the end, they would lose. And Rick McGraw and Steve Travis, they were a decent tag team during this time. I remember as a kid seeing them on WWF TV. Next match saw WWF Intercontinental Champion Pedro Morales defeat Greg Valentine in a brass knuckles match, 10 minutes and 48 seconds. Jesse Ventura defeated Tony Atlas via countout, 20 minutes and 8 seconds. And the WWF World Champion Bob Backlund pinned Bob Orton Jr., Randy's dad, in 22 minutes and 27 seconds. After the bout, Orton attacked guest referee Tony Garea and gave him a shoulder breaker. Now, I'm sure when we talk again in June and we go over the June results, we're probably going to see a Bob Orton versus Tony Garea match at the Capitol Center for June of 1982. I can't guarantee it, but I'm thinking that was an angle leading up to the next show. So that was May 1, 1982. We're going to jump now to May of 1983. We're in Baltimore at the Civic Center, May 21, 1983. This drew 8,000 fans. Salvatore Palumbo defeated Bob Bradley, 9 minutes, 32 seconds. Susan Starr and Princess Victoria defeated Lalani Kai and women's champion the Fabulous Moolah, 12 minutes and 13 seconds. Mac Rivera defeated Frankie Williams, 8 minutes, 5 seconds. Swede Hansen defeated Fred Marzino, 7 minutes and 14 seconds. Samu defeated Tony Colon, 6 minutes and 2 seconds. Baron Mikel Cicluna defeated Rocky Cole, 3 minutes and 15 seconds. And I'll tell you what, we talked about 6 matches were basically all stuff you would see on TV. So I'm not surprised that they drew such a small house, 8,000 people for this show. But the first 6 matches were basically TV style matches. We then saw WWF Tag Team Champion Alpha defeat Jules Strongbow, 5 minutes and 10 seconds. WWF Tag Team Champion Sika defeated Israel Mattia, 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Salvatore Palumbo won an 18-man, $10,000 battle royal in 18 minutes. Wow. What were they thinking with this card? And the main event saw WWF World Champion Bob Backlund defeat Ivan Koloff via submission with the cross-face chicken wing in 38 minutes and 5 seconds. That was May 21, 1983. The following week, on May 28th, they were back in Landover at the Capitol Center. This was televised on the USA Network. Mac Rivera defeated Barry Hart, 11 minutes, 13 seconds. Princess Victoria and Susan Starr defeated women's champ The Fabulous Moolah and Alani Kai. Ivan Koloff pinned Salvatore Palumbo with a knee drop off the top to the back at 12 minutes, 33 seconds. Jimmy Snuka pinned WWF Tag Team Champion Sika with a Superfly headbutt, 6 minutes and 5 seconds. Now, interesting, he wasn't at the Baltimore show a week before, and this was right around the time, this was maybe 2 weeks after, so what was that, May? Yeah, about 2 weeks after his girlfriend died in Pennsylvania after the TV tapings. So it looks like he was still kept off the shows for the Baltimore show, but was back in action less than 3 weeks later in Landover. Jimmy Snuka getting a win over Sika. So that was May 28, 1983. Next match saw Iron Mike Sharp pin Bear Miguel Cicluna with a loaded forearm blow to the back of the head, 9 minutes, 57 seconds. WWF Intercontinental Champion Don Morocco fought Rocky Johnson to a double disqualification at 17 minutes, 43 seconds after Morocco pulled guest referee Swede Hansen into a dropkick from the challenger, then knocking Hansen to the floor himself. Moments later, Hansen re-entered the ring, shoved Johnson out of the way, and attacked Morocco. Hansen then raised Morocco's hand before doing the same to Johnson. And I'll tell you what, Morocco and Rocky Johnson, they had a really good feud at this time. They had a really good match on TV, I guess, leading up to these house show matches. And they teased that Rocky Johnson actually won the Intercontinental title. The next match saw Samu pin Bob Bradley with a flying headbutt, 9 minutes, 18 seconds. Sergeant Slaughter pinned Chief Jay Strombo with a clothesline and elbow drop at 11 minutes, 45 seconds. Slaughter used Halls of Montezuma as his entrance music for the bout. WWF World Champion Bob Backlund defeated WWF Tag Team Champion Alpha via submission with the crossface chicken wing at 14 minutes and 53 seconds. The next day, May 29th, 1983, they were in Salisbury, Maryland at the Wycomico Youth and Civic Center. Eddie Gilbert versus Charlie Fulton did not take place as advertised, and this was because this was a few weeks after Eddie Gilbert was in the car accident. This was after the same set of TV tapings when Snuka's girlfriend was found dead. And oddly enough, they were in the same hospital. They wound up in the same hospital. And I think Gilbert tells a story about how when he woke up in the hospital, he saw Morocco and I think Mr. Fuji was there. And he thought, it's, you guys are here. Thanks for coming here to see me. And they were like, well, yeah, we're here for you, but also Snuka's girlfriend is, down the hall. So rough night for the WWF May of 1983 with Snuka's girlfriend dying and Eddie Gilbert having that accident, which really changed his career. I think that neck injury really is what, took him on his pill habit, his drug addiction, and he was dead 12 years later, unfortunately. Eddie Gilbert was a really, really good wrestler. I liked him as a kid, loved him in Memphis, liked his stuff in Continental. I was a fan of his all throughout the 80s and even into the 90s when he was, dipping back and forth in Memphis and he was in ECW. May of 1983 is when he had his accident and passed away February 95. That was, we're talking about Salisbury, Maryland, Wycomico Youth and Civic Center, May 29, 1983. Opening match saw Samu defeat Pete Doherty, the Duke of Dorchester. He was a substitute for Bob Bradley. Iron Mike Sharp defeated Pete Doherty. That can't be right. Did Pete wrestle 2 matches in a row? And it says Pete was a substitute for Johnny Rodz. Sergeant Slaughter defeated Bear Miguel Cicluna. Jimmy Snuka defeated WWF Tag Team Champion Sika. Ivan Koloff defeated Chief Jay Strombo. And WWF World Champion Bob Backlund defeated WWF Tag Team Champion Alpha. Let's jump to 1984. May 13, 1984. We're in Landover at the Capitol Center. This was also eventually televised on the USA Network. WWF Women's Champion, the Fabulous Moolah, defeated Wendy Richter, who was a substitute for Judy Martin. B. Brian Blair defeated Renee Goulet via referee's decision after the 15-minute time limit had expired. George Steele, with his manager Mr. Fuji, defeated Akira Maeda. Oh my God. George Steele defeated Akira Maeda via submission, nonetheless, with the flying hammerlock, 3 minutes and 13 seconds. Jesse Ventura, who was a substitute for Israel Mattia, pinned Chief J. Strongbow 4 minutes 51 seconds with an elbow drop. Greg Valentine pinned Tony Gurria at 4 minutes 50 seconds when the momentum of a cross body block by Gurria put Valentine on top. Tiger Chung Lee pinned Jose Luis Rivera, who was a substitute for Jimmy Snuka, at 5 minutes and 4 seconds with a backbreaker. Sergeant Slaughter fought the Iron Sheik to a double disqualification at 10 minutes 24 seconds after both men shoved the referee down. After the bout, Slaughter had to be pulled off the Sheik by Akira Maeda, Jose Luis Rivera, and Renee Goulet. And I loved these Slaughter Sheik matches back in the day. I was at this show, and they did the match at the Baltimore Civic Center. As a kid, it was awesome seeing these matches. Really, I mean, we were all into the USA stuff. And, you know, of course, Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA, was big at the time. The Olympics coming up that summer were in USA. So everybody was at a fever pitch with the patriotism. And seeing Sergeant Slaughter fight the evil Iron Sheik, man, as a little kid, I remember going crazy watching those matches. Roddy Piper, Paul Orndorff, and David Schultz defeated Rocky Johnson, S.D. Jones, and Bobo Brazil, who was substituting for Tony Atlas at 9 minutes 32 seconds when Piper pinned Jones after hitting him in the back of the head with a foreign object. After the bout, Monsoon interviewed Brazil at ringside, and this was Brazil's return after a 6-year absence. Man, I can imagine the Roddy Piper promos leading up to this match. Oh, I remember, I think it was him and Junkyard Dog at the Civic Center, or maybe him and Tony Atlas. I think it was maybe a Piper's Pit. I may be misremembering, but oh my God, you could not air that interview on TV today. Let me just say that. The main event saw Bob Backlund, who was not the champion. This was when Hulk Hogan was a champion. Bob Backlund defeated Mr. Fuji via submission with the crossface chicken wing in 5 minutes 51 seconds. That was May 19th. The very next day, May 20th, they were in Salisbury at the Wycomico Youth and Civic Center. And I really liked that Wycomico Youth and Civic Center. I went there for a bunch of shows, WCW TV tapings. It was fun. I think like in the late 80s, early 90s, when they would have the bash at the Civic Center. The next day, they would do the TV tapings in Salisbury at the Wycomico Youth and Civic Center. So we would pile in a car and go down and watch, 4 hours worth of TV tapings. And it was just a blast. But anyway, May 20, 1984, Salisbury, B. Brian Blair defeated Akira Maeda. Tony Gurria fought Renee Goulet to a draw. B. Brian Blair, who was the substitute for S.D. Jones, defeated Mr. Fuji by disqualification. Chief J. Strongbow defeated Tiger Chung Lee. Roddy Piper, Paul Orndorff, and David Schultz defeated Bobo Brazil, S.D. Jones, and Rocky Johnson. Now, Bobo was a substitute again for Tony Atlas. S.D. Jones this time was a substitute for Jimmy Snuka. So we had pretty much the same match as the night before in Landover. Bobo was substituting for Bobo was substituting for Tony Atlas. And in this one, S.D. Jones was substituting for Jimmy Snuka. Man, I can't imagine if it was Atlas Snuka and Rocky Johnson against Piper, Orndorff, and David Schultz. That would have been a hell of a match with the heat going on. And the main event saw Bob Backlund defeat Greg Valentine in a Texas death match. Then the following week, we're in Baltimore. So here we are in Maryland, May of 1984. And there's three big WWF shows in Maryland in the month of May 1984. How cool is that? May 26, 1984 at the Baltimore Civic Center. Opening match saw Butcher Vachon defeat Steve Lombardi at 6 minutes and 15 seconds. Jose Luis Rivera and Pete Sanchez defeated Tony Colon and Israel Mattia, 13 minutes and 23 seconds. Bobo Brazil defeated Ron Shaw, 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Sika defeated Akira Maeda. WWF Intercontinental Champion Tito Santana defeated Samu, 13 minutes, 35 seconds. Ivan Putski defeated Alpha, 4 minutes, 15 seconds. Roddy Piper defeated Rocky Johnson, 7 minutes and 30 seconds. And the main event saw the Iron Sheik defeat Bob Backlund by countout, 15 minutes and 14 seconds. Before we get into 1985, I want to thank you for listening so far. We've got the rest of the decade to cover in this episode. But again, I do want to encourage you to check us out online, RassleRama.com. You can find all of our social media outlets on there. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter. We do daily updates on both YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Follow us on all. And wherever you happen to be listening to this podcast or any of our other podcasts, be sure to like it, leave us a comment, let us know what you thought, let us know what you like, let us know what you want to hear more of. And now, let's get into the rest of the decade. 1985, we're going to start in Salisbury at the Wycomico Youth and Civic Center. May 2nd, 1985. And the original lineup for the show advertised a Buddy Rose versus Tommy Rich match, but that did not take place. And if you go to our Facebook, go back to May 2nd, on our Facebook timeline, we actually have the newspaper clipping of this show advertising the show, and it did advertise Buddy Rose versus Tommy Rich. So I guess this was the time, Vince McMahon was still doing his raise, and he probably thought he had Tommy Rich in the company, and he was advertising him, but Tommy was not in the WWF. The opening match saw Bret Hart pin Bob Bradley, Ivan Putski pin Matt Bourne. WWF Tag Team Champions Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik defeated the British Bulldogs. Tony Atlas, who was a substitute for George Wells, fought Jim Neidhart to a double countout. And the Junkyard Dog defeated Intercontinental Champion Greg Valentine by disqualification. 2 days later, they were in Baltimore at the Civic Center. May 4, 1985, they drew 7,800 fans, which had to be a disappointment. Tony Atlas defeated Bob Bradley. David Sammartino defeated Matt Bourne. King Kong Bundy defeated Salvatore Palumbo. Ricky Steamboat defeated Steve Lombardi. Women's champion Wendy Richter defeated Lalani Kai. Kim Butera defeated Ivan Putski. And the main event saw WWF World Champion Hulk Hogan and Jimmy Snuka team up to defeat Roddy Piper and Bob Orton Jr. And you would figure that main event with Hogan and Snuka teaming up, that should have drew more than 7,800 fans. Now, granted, the rest of the show was subpar, but just Hogan and Snuka teaming up. Snuka was, on the downside. He wasn't the Snuka of 82 and 83. But then again, this was a little more than a month after the first WrestleMania. So I am surprised that the show only drew 7,800 fans. Let's go a week later, May 11th, 1985. We're in Landover at the Capitol Center. 2 matches were advertised, didn't take place. David Sammartino versus Les Thornton, and Charlie Fulton versus Jim Powers. The opening contest saw Winona Littleheart defeat Donna Christianello. Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart defeated S.D. Jones and Bob Bradley. Les Thornton defeated Charlie Fulton. Okay, so I see it was supposed to be Sammartino versus Thornton and Fulton versus Powers. So I guess they just did Thornton versus Fulton. Les Thornton defeated Charlie Fulton. Ricky Steamboat defeated Moondog Spot. Big John Studd defeated George Wells. The Junkyard Dog defeated Bob Orton Jr. And WWF champion Hulk Hogan defeated Roddy Piper by disqualification. Let's go into 1986, May 3rd, 1986, at the Baltimore Civic Center. And this show drew around 5,000 fans. So they dropped, 2,800 fans from 85 to 86. Do I have the figures for 84? No. Let's go back here. So in 83, May of 83, they drew 8,000. And May of 80, they drew 10,900. So May of 80 to May of 86, they dropped about, 5,000 fans. All right, so May 3, 1986, Baltimore Civic Center, Jim Brunzell defeated Ron Shaw. King Tonga fought Big John Studd to a double countout. Bret Hart defeated B. Brian Blair. Jimmy Hart, Jimmy Jack Funk, who was substituting for Terry Funk, and Dory Funk Jr. defeated the Junkyard Dog, George Steele, and the Haiti Kid. And I'll tell you, probably my favorite angle with the Haiti Kid is when he was on Piper's Pit. This was leading up to, WrestleMania 2, I believe, when Piper was going to box Mr. T. And they had the Haiti Kid on Piper's Pit. And they shaved his head, they shaved his hair into a mohawk to make him look like Mr. T. Oh my God, it was so funny watching that as a kid. Adrian Adonis defeated Hillbilly Jim. Scott McGee defeated Moondog Spot. And Tito Santana defeated Intercontinental Champion Randy Savage by disqualification. And this was a subpar show. I mean, Tito and Macho Man was a good match. I guess advertising Terry Funk with Dory Funk, even though their opponents was Junkyard Dog and George Steele. I don't know. So, yeah, this was a subpar card, and they only drew 5,000 fans. About 2 weeks later, May 16, 1986, in Landover at the Capitol Center, they again drew 5,000 fans. Opening match saw B. Brian Blair defeat Bret Hart. Jim Neidhart defeated Lanny Poffo. Dan Spivey defeated Paul Christie. King Kong Bundy and Big John Studd defeated Tony Atlas and Ted Arcidi. George Steele defeated the Iron Sheik. Nikolai Volkov defeated Corporal Kirshner. Jake Roberts defeated Ricky Steamboat. And Intercontinental Champion Randy Savage defeated Tito Santana. The very next day, May 17, 1986. So here we are in May of 86. We're in Baltimore again, and this is for Jim Crockett Promotions. So we're at May 17, midway through the month, and we've already had 2 shows at the Baltimore Civic Center. The Crockett Show, May 17, 1986, saw NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion Denny Brown fight Steve Regal to a 20-minute time limit draw. NWA Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion Black Bart pinned Sam Houston. Manny Fernandez pinned Leo Burke. Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson defeated NWA Tag Team Champions Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey. Rock and Rolls versus the Midnights, man. You can't miss out with that one. This was a non-title match. Jim Cornette was held in the cage for the duration of the match. Ron Garvin pinned NWA TV Champion Arn Anderson. NWA U.S. Champion Magnum TA fought NWA National Heavyweight Champion Tully Blanchard to a double countout in a best 2 out of 3 falls match. And the main event saw Dusty Rhodes and the Road Warriors defeat NWA 6-man tag champions Baron Von Raschke, Ivan, and Nikita Koloff to win the titles after Nikita accidentally struck Von Raschke. And I was at this show, and I remember the place went crazy when Dusty and the Road Warriors won the title. And I was a huge fan of Magnum TA at the time, so it was cool seeing him and Tully go at it. Rock and Rolls and Midnights was a great match. So I think in May of 86 so far, Crockett definitely put on the better show. But wait, we're getting another show in Baltimore, May of 1986. May 29, 1986, we're back at the Baltimore Civic Center for the WWF. So the WWF was at the Civic Center May 3rd, and they're back a few weeks later, May 29th. This show saw Bob Orton defeat Jim Powers, who was a substitute for George Wells. Hercules defeated Tommy Price, who was a substitute for George Steele. Iron Sheik defeated Lanny Poffo. Moondogs defeated Scott McGee and C.B. Offee. Corporal Kirshner defeated Nikolai Volkov. King Kong Bundy and Big John Studd defeated King Tonga and Tony Garea, who was substituting for Ted Arcidi. Tony Atlas defeated Tiger Chung Lee. And world champion Hulk Hogan defeated Adrian Adonis. So in the month of May 1986, the Maryland area got 4 shows. 3 of them was at the Baltimore Civic Center. Good times indeed. Let's jump to 1987. We're going to start May 7, 1987. Crockett was in Waldorf, Maryland. I don't have all the results. I just got one match. This was NWA World Champion Ric Flair defeated Brad Armstrong. Then we go the next day, May 8th, 1987. Crockett was at the Baltimore Arena. They drew 10,000 people. Bob and Brad Armstrong fought Chris Champion and Sean Royal to a draw. And that tag team match just triggered in my head. May of 1987 was a month after the Crockett Cup was in Baltimore for 2 days. So here they are the month after, and they're still drawing 10,000 fans. Arn Anderson defeated Tim Horner. Vladimir Pietrov defeated Baron von Raschke. Lex Luger defeated Ron Garvin by disqualification. The Road Warriors defeated NWA Tag Team Champions Rick Rude and Manny Fernandez via disqualification. Dick Murdoch defeated Dusty Rhodes in a Texas death match. NWA U.S. Champion Nikita Koloff defeated Ivan Koloff in a Russian chain match. And NWA World Champion Ric Flair defeated Jimmy Garvin by disqualification at the 15-minute mark. I don't have the results for this show, but they did an all-ladies show at the Baltimore Arena on May 15th, 1987. And this was for the POWW group. And some, I'm not going to name it all, but they had the Russian versus Tina, the Terrorist versus Malibu Doll, Jeannie Beret versus Bam Bam, Mighty Matilda versus the Vegas Vixen, Holly and Divine versus Essence and Shannon O'Malley, and Destiny and the Biker versus Pocahontas and the Farmer's Daughter. So Crockett was at the arena May 8th. A women's show was at the arena May 15th. And the next day, May 16th, 1987, WWF was in Landover at the Capitol Center, which saw Outback Jack defeat Frenchie Martin. Lanny Poffo defeated Iron Mike Sharp. Iron Sheik defeated Nick Kiniski. Sam Houston defeated Barry O. B. Brian Blair and Jim Brunzell defeated Demolition. Jim Duggan fought Nikolai Volkov to a no contest. Butch Reed defeated Tito Santana, and Randy Savage defeated Intercontinental Champion Ricky Steamboat by countout. That sounds like a fun little card. Then, May 21, 1987, Crockett was at the Wycomico Youth and Civic Center in Salisbury, Maryland. Baron von Raschke defeated Mark Fleming. Vladimir Pietrov, who was a substitute for Arn Anderson. Wow. What a difference in work rate for that one. Defeated Brad Armstrong. Ivan Koloff defeated Tim Horner. Ron Garvin and Barry Windham, who was substituting for Jimmy Garvin, defeated U.S. Tag Champions Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane in a non-title match. NWA U.S. Champion Nikita Koloff defeated NWA TV Champion Tully Blanchard, but only the U.S. title was at stake. And the main event saw NWA Tag Team Champions Rick Rude and Manny Fernandez defeat Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, the Rock and Roll Express. The following week, May 30, 1987, WWF was back at the Baltimore Arena. Lanny Poffo defeated Terry Gibbs. Jerry Allen, who was substituting for the Rebel Dick Slater, defeated Jimmy Jack Funk. Sam Houston defeated Tiger Chung Lee. The Islanders defeated Don Morocco and Bob Orton Jr. That was a fun match. Danny Davis defeated Coco Beware by countout. Kamala defeated George Steele by disqualification. Honky Tonk Man defeated Corporal Kirshner, who was substituting for Jake Roberts. And the main event saw WWF World Champion Hulk Hogan pin King Harley Race. Let's go to 1988. May 7, 1988, Crockett was at the Baltimore Arena. They drew 5,500 fans. Larry Zbyszko pinned Johnny Ace. Dick Murdoch pinned Mighty Wilbur. Barry Windham pinned Tim Horner. U.S. Tag Champs Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers defeated Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane. That was a really good match. Al Perez fought Nikita Koloff to a double countout. The Road Warriors defeated the Sheep Herders. Dusty Rhodes and Steve Williams defeated NWA Tag Team Champions Arn Anderson and Natalie Blanchard by disqualification. Anderson and Blanchard were heavily cheered in this match, which really was the case for most of the Horsemen in Baltimore, whether it was Flair, Tully, Arn, Barry Windham, and even the Midnight Express. And I remember the Freebirds as heels would get, big fan favorite reactions, so to speak. And around this time, I know I was tired of Dusty Rhodes. I had been tired of Dusty Rhodes for about 2 years at this point, so I think most of the fan base was tired of him as well. And the main event saw NWA World Champion Ric Flair pin Sting after Barry Windham interfered. And this was a little over a month off of their big 45-minute draw at the first Clash of the Champions. So it was cool seeing the rematch in Baltimore. May 28th, 1988, we've got WWF results for a show in Northeast Maryland at the CCC Physical Education Center, and this was a benefit card. Now, I don't have results. I have some of the matches that took place. Women's champion Sensational Sherry took on Desiree Peterson. Sam Houston versus Danny Davis. Paul Roma and Jim Powers versus Nikolai Volkov and Boris Zukov. And Ron Bass versus Junkyard Dog was the main event. The next day, WWF was in Lexington Park, Maryland, at the Great Mills High School gym. Joe LeDuc defeated Scott Casey. Oh, this show, by the way, drew about 1,500 fans in the high school gym. Joe LeDuc defeated Scott Casey. Big Boss Man pinned Jose Estrada. Sam Houston pinned Danny Davis. Women's champion Sensational Sherry pinned Desiree Peterson. Junkyard Dog pinned Ron Bass. And Paul Roma and Jim Powers defeated Nikolai Volkov and Boris Zukov by disqualification. So it looks like it's pretty much the same show as the benefit show the day before. So those matches, I'm sure, have the same results as these matches. Let's jump into the final year of the 80s, 1989. We're going to start May 4th, 1989 at the Salisbury Wycomico Youth and Civic Center. WWF held a show. Jim Powers defeated Bill Woods. Honky Tonk Man pinned Hillbilly Jim. Bret Hart fought Mr. Perfect to a draw. I'm sure that was a real good match. Intercontinental Champion Rick Rude defeated the Ultimate Warrior by disqualification. Red Rooster defeated the Brooklyn Brawler. Greg Valentine pinned the Blue Blazer. Rick Martel pinned Tito Santana. And WWF Tag Team Champions Demolition defeated the Big Boss Man and Akeem by disqualification. The next day, May 5th, 1985, WWF was in D.C. at the D.C. Armory. And I know we're focusing on Maryland, but D.C.'s close enough. And this building, the D.C. Armory, is actually the building that I watched the first WrestleMania on closed circuit. So it's near and dear to my heart. So May 5th, 1989, WWF at the DC Armory. Hillbilly Jim versus Honky Tonk Man. Greg Valentine pinned the Blue Blazer by catching him coming off the top and hitting a power slam. Bret Hart fought Mr. Perfect to a draw. Red Rooster defeated Brooklyn Brawler. Tag champs Demolition defeated the Big Boss Man and Akeem. Rick Martel defeated Tito Santana. Ultimate Warrior defeated Intercontinental Champion Rick Rude by disqualification. So it sounds like this match was pretty much the same, or this show was pretty much the same as the night before in Salisbury. And then we're going to close out May 27, 1989. NWA was at the Baltimore Arena. This was Family Appreciation Night. All children 12 and under could get in for $5 no matter where they sat. And I remember they did this occasionally. I wouldn't even say once a year, but I remember one year they did the local affiliate Channel 54, which showed, this may have even been Georgia. May have been Crockett or Georgia, I can't remember. But they did something where like kids were 54 cents, kids 12 and under, 54 cents. Kids 10 and under, I think were free one time. That may have been a Salisbury show. I can't remember. But they would do occasional gimmicks like that, especially in down times when they were just trying to get people in the building. So this was May 27, 1989. NWA, Ron Simmons fought Ranger Ross to a time limit draw. Shane Douglas and Johnny Ace, the Dynamic Dudes, defeated Jack Victory and the Raider. Mike Rotunda pinned Scott Steiner in a suplex match by using the ropes for leverage. Dick Murdoch pinned Bill Irwin with a small package. I tell you what, Dick Murdoch was great in these house shows. Not every house show, but in most Dick Murdoch house show matches I saw, there was some great comedy. One that stands out, I want to say it was 94, 95 maybe. It was a WWF show, and Jim Cornette was managing Dick Murdoch. I forget who Murdoch was wrestling. But the finish came when Jim Cornette missed the opponent, hit Murdoch or something. It was, they messed up at the end and caused Dick Murdoch to get pinned, lose the match. So, of course, Dick Murdoch gets mad at Jim Cornette, grabs him by the jacket, and I'm going to punch this guy. And the fans are going crazy. Punch him, punch him. And Jim Cornette gets on the mic. Oh, my God, it was an accident. It was an accident. You know I love you. You know I love you, Dick. You know I love Dick. And it was just a little small comedy spot on a house show that maybe not many people remember, but I remember. And it was around this time, too, when he was, or was that a Smoky Mountain show? Because he was in Smoky around that time, too. I tell you, sometimes when 30 years pass and some of these shows just mix together. But I remember for sure he had a great promo on Smoky Mountain Wrestling. He filmed it outside, and it was snowing like crazy. And he's sitting on the porch, no shirt, just cutting a promo. But yeah, Dick Murdoch was great. And like Cornette, I love Dick. But Dick Murdoch pinned Bill Irwin with a small package. The Road Warriors fought the Samoan SWAT team to a double countout. I remember that was a very good match. Those two teams, and this was the time they had the Road Warriors, the SWAT team, the Steiners, the Skyscrapers. It was a really good time in NWA for tag teams. Of course, the Midnight Express was around. Next match saw NWA TV champion Sting defeat the Great Muta by disqualification when Gary Hart interfered. Oh my God. What a great match. We saw the Road Warriors, SST, Sting, and Muta. Next match saw Ricky Steamboat pin Butch Reed with a small package. And the main event saw NWA US champion Lex Luger defeat Michael Hayes in a Bad Street match. So that's it. We've looked at a bunch of shows from the month of May in the decade of the 1980s in the state of Maryland. I'll tell you, I love going back and looking at these cards, looking at the results, seeing the attendance, see what pops, year to year, see what changes, and just having good memories. Like remembering seeing Sting and Muto when they were both young and fledgling superstars. Seeing Snuka and Hogan team up. It's a great walk down memory lane for me, and I hope you enjoy it as well. And I hope you'll join us next time when we go to June in the 1980s. And if you like this, check out our previous episodes. You can find all of our old podcasts on our website, RassleRama.com. Be sure to follow it. It's on Spotify. We post these on YouTube. You can listen to them right on our webpage. So yeah, be sure to, wherever you're listening to this, like it, follow, leave us a comment, what you like, what you want to hear. And until the month of June, I hope you take care. See you next time.